What's going on, everyone? Just a quick reaction video today. I've been watching a lot of videos about life and people's bad experiences with coworkers, their jobs, their managers, and whatnot. And I wanted to present this video to guys to let you know that you guys aren't alone. You guys may be having terrible experiences. I know with the government shutdown and the layoffs going on right now, people think they're alone. But no, I found this video where he talks about his own coworkers, and it was relatable to me. And so I wanted to show this to y'all and offer you my, I don't know if you want to call it insight, but my opinion as well. And yes, spoiler, I do have these same experiences. I do talk about it as well. So this video to us today comes from RadRussian. Shout out to you. Link was in the description to his original video without my commentary below. So, RadRussian, if you happen to find this video, I'd like to know your opinion to my reactions. I'd like to have a fruitful conversation, and anyone can join in the comments below. But without rambling too much, let's get into it.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to hop on here today and tell you guys about the worst job I ever had. It was a weird point in my life because it was right after I graduated school, but I wasn't pursuing a career in what I graduated for. And all my friends were like finishing up as well and getting careers and doing what they went to school for. So I felt kind of lost and like anxious and felt like I had blown it. And I wasn't really in a position where I could pick and choose what I was doing, right? I needed to start making money and I just took jobs kind of at random without doing any due diligence or prioritizing like my well being, my mental health. So I was kind of going shitty job to shitty job. But this one really takes the cake. So in the spring, summer, and fall, it was an irrigation company, and I got hired as a service tech. So I would like drive around doing service calls. If something breaks, you call a guy, he comes and fixes it. That was going to be me, but only for irrigation. And in the winter season, you would snow plow. Now, when I joined these guys, there was only like a month or two left of the winter season. So I just rode around with them, these random guys, and I would just shovel for them, right? Hop out of their truck, shovel the walkways, throw down salt, all this stuff. That wasn't too bad. I mean, the hours were horrible. You would just be on call in the middle of the night. It's Ottawa in Canada, so it was snowing constantly. And then if it was going to like continuously snow and you were out all night, you would go home, sleep for like 4 hours, and then go right back out for like another 18-hour shift. It was crazy. Most of those guys would just like park their truck in an industrial parking lot like Walmart or behind a factory and just pass out in the truck for like 3 hours, call it a night, get back out there for like another 20 hours. The
That's a cold life. I know Canada, y'all get really, really cold up there. I don't know how low it can go, but I've heard like -5 degrees Fahrenheit. We're in the US, so we use Fahrenheit. I don't know how to convert that in the top of my head to Celsius, but that's cold to just be outside like that, and Canada's cold like that. Other places like Winnipeg and Calgary, I don't know if anyone wants any of that. I'm surprised there's civilization in northern Canada like that. Let's continue.
majority of the guys I worked with were extremely rough and not enjoyable. I mean, they were not fun to be around. They were super negative. They were always in horrible moods. They were constantly broke. Some of them were on drugs. None of them would eat anything. I'd be working with them for like I said, like 18 hours. We wouldn't stop and get food one single time. These guys just lived off Diet Pepsi, cigarettes, triple triples, which is just like coffee in Canada from Tim Hortons, right? That's all they would eat and drink. There was no actual substance, nothing. They were all active alcoholics. When we would be out snow plowing, they'd be constantly drinking, all of them drinking and driving. It didn't matter. And honestly, it was better that way because if they weren't drinking, they were going to be the biggest asshole on planet Earth. They were going to be miserable. I was scared to talk to these guys.
And I want to point this out to y'all who think y'all are just going to work steadily for 40, 50 years and have no problems. Y'all think y'all just going to go from job to job, everything be honky dory. Y'all think everything's just going to go perfect. No, as he's saying, people are assholes. People are terrible. And I've experienced myself. I won't get into my personal experiences too much yet, but yeah, dudes are crazy out here. They are functioning alcoholics. Even if you're not working with them, if you go to the bar, people can drink, I don't know, like 6 tall glasses of shitty Lone Star. I'm in Texas, so Lone Star is for some reason is popular. It tastes like shit. I wouldn't recommend it. But dudes can drink that all night, watch like 3 football games. They'd be cranky as hell. They'd be pissed off when women don't talk to them. So yeah, going back to if you have a job or whatnot, people are just OCD. They're nitpick about everything. They want to overpower you. So even if you like your job, it's really not even a the grass really still isn't green if you get a good job because you have to deal with these just horrible people. Unfortunately, you can't just keep a good job forever. You're gonna have to leave. You're gonna have to draw the line when it comes to your own self-respect. If a dude is treating you like shit, you're gonna have to just quit. Don't try to talk to the above manager. That asshole may be very valuable to him or her, and that's why they can do what they want. That's why they can get away with whatever they want. So I'm really not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm trying to share my wisdom with y'all of what I'm experiencing, what I've seen other people experience as well, what people tell me in personal conversations. You can't just, you could if you get lucky, but don't think you're just going to work and have everyone get along with you. Don't think you're just going to get along with everyone you come across, even in jobs you like. It's not really how it works out here. But if you do work for 40 years and you just get along with everyone and you don't have any problems, you're one lucky son of a bitch, I tell you.
They treated me like shit because I was the new guy. I was the youngest one. It was pretty much just a bunch of old alcoholic old heads who worked here, and I didn't fit in at all. They pawned everything off to me. They took out all their aggression on me. It was just rough, like they hated me for no reason at all. If you tried to make any small talk or anything like that, they would just be miserable fucks. They wouldn't want to talk about that shit. They were constantly ranting about politics, the state of the world, negative shit, negative everything. Everything that came out of their mouths was just like horrifically negative.
And there are a ton of negative Nancy's out here. There are a ton of Scrooges that just ain't know about how you do the work. I had a dude who I used to work with. He was a manager. I was only a number three going on the career ladder to his position. So essentially, I was reporting under him. He would complain about like how the spreadsheet looked. He complained about how the templates look when I created them. He just complained about everything. And I know nothing is going to be perfect when you first create it, but this dude had like nothing positive to say. And needless to say, afterwards, he would kind of do it. When he starts talking about like his family or his kids, he'd even talk about his personal life in that way. So there are a ton of just Scrooges out here. Again, you're not just going to go through life meeting just everyone. And piggybacking on what he said about meeting new people and getting treated like shit when you're a new guy, yeah, that is true. Even outside of work, if you're just new somewhere and no one knows you, you're just constantly ignored. There may be a handful of places you can go to that people are just open arms, but for the most part, people are closed armed. It takes some, if you want to call it work, some smoozing around, meeting mutual friend after mutual friend, and doing that over and over again before you have a big enough circle around you of guys and whoever you can call friends. But for the most part, you don't just jump in a situation that you're unknown and people just give you the world of opportunity. And don't be the new guy working with a bunch of old tenured people there. They're going to slap so much work upon you. It's going to be ridiculous. They just understand that a lot of those people are nearing retirement, so they're just trying to coast up to their age whenever it is they retire. They're just trying to make it easier for themselves, and that's understandable. Who wants to work really hard until they retire? So, unfortunately, a lot of us are going to be victims of casualties of war out here.
So it didn't take me very long to realize, like, wow, I really don't like this. I don't want to be doing this. But like I said, in my mind, I figured I had kind of blown it and I wasn't in any position to be turning down work. Everybody I knew was off, like, getting careers and making real money and starting to become adults, right? So I was, like, extremely nervous and anxious about, like, shit, man, I didn't get anything done in school. I kind of just partied. I fucked that up. So eventually I made it through the winter season. It was wrapping up and the irrigation season was starting. All the snow was melting and we were going around to do the system startups and do the service calls. But I realized I didn't even have a vehicle. They didn't count correctly and I was the only one left without a vehicle. So I went in and told the owner. The shop, by the way, was on this massive plot of land in the country. I mean, I don't know, maybe like 50, 60 acres. Huge, right? The majority of it was just field and forest, but there was a couple barns. There was a whole portion of this land where all the lifers would park their vehicles. They all knew each other, and after work every day, they'd go over there, have massive skid fires, burn old couches, dressers. Like, these guys were bringing shit into work that they didn't want anymore or found on the side of the road, so they could burn it at night. They would drink there all night, do drugs. Some of the guys would pass out in their vehicles and then just get up in the morning still at the shop and start their day. So I didn't have a vehicle. All these other guys were sorting out their shit, and the boss is just like, oh man, like, and he's just like trying to think of something for me to do, and he just tells me to clean up, the area, the shop.
And there's the drinking and drugs thing again. I had a friend come up to me. He's a welder, and he was telling me how he had to leave his job because the people there were just sketchy, just being drunk all the time. And if I imagine if you're doing hard labor like that, you're going to be around a bunch of drunk dudes. You can slip up some tools, or you might have some kind of work accident. Hell nah. Safety is more important. You don't gotta. Money's not everything.
And I was like, this is like fucking 60 acres. Like, you want me to rake a field? Like, what do you want me to do? He's like, oh, go clean out this shed. And he had to show me it like on a map because it was so far away. It was in the middle of nowhere, like in the woods. I was like, nobody's been in here in like 30 years. I was like, what am I doing? I spent like 2 days just literally sitting beside this shed in the woods doing nothing. Eventually, he made me clean up all the empties, return all of them, clean out the fire pit, and like find new shit for them to burn. Completely pointless, useless jobs, like tasks. Like, I could tell this guy had absolutely no idea what to do with me. But eventually he gets this horrid piece of shit van that broke down all the time, and I had to like rely on this thing. I mean, I was out in the middle of nowhere sometimes, but then I would have to call guys all the time to be like, bro, my fucking van stopped working. And these guys would either be not answering their phone, being annoyed that I needed assistance, and would be like refusing to come out there. And I was like, dude, I'm stuck on the side of this fucking highway. I need somebody to come out here. I'm not going to pay out of pocket to like call like a service or something. You know what I mean? So these guys were like, it just sucked. Just everything about it was like, I was like nervous to call the boss to be like, hey, I need help. I need to ask a question. I didn't want to call any of my coworkers because I was, again, nervous about it. They were all dickheads. The very first day I started, I remember walking on the property, and there was a guy and he pulled up in a truck. It was the end of my shift, right? And I was going to my locker to get my stuff, and this guy pulls up in a truck and he's like, yo, are you the new guy? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess this guy's going to introduce himself to me. I was like, yeah, man, what's going on? How's your day going, right? He's like, can you go in the shop and get your package and get all your paperwork? I'm trying to close up and get the fuck out of here, and your shit's just sitting on the desk. Go get it. And he just gets like really aggravated. By the way, nobody even told me that was in there. So I was like, okay, man, sorry, I'll go get it. And I went and grabbed it. He said nothing. He just like locks the door behind me and peels off. So
Yeah, people are very inconsiderate out here. They, on one end, what he said, you can kind of respect that dude was straight to the point, but the way people's verbal delivery it is in situations like that, it's very offensive. It does rub you the wrong way, especially again in places where you should be civil at work. It's really kind of off-putting. Not kind of, it is off-putting. It's terrible, and it just goes to show you, many people are just they're terrible. I don't know what other way to put it. I'm calling the spade the spade. Now, it's gonna sound like I'm caping for these miserable people for a second, so just hear me out. A lot of people have terrible lives. Let's just be frank. They have kids that they don't want. They got to pay child support. They probably have a fat baby mama or a fat wife who they just don't want to look at. They have like loads of student debt, medicine bills, medical bills, all of that. So that's just only a few examples off the top of my head I'm giving you, but you never know what someone's going through. And I'm not trying to excuse anyone's inconsideration or bad behavior or bad treatment towards you, but I just want y'all to understand more of like what's going on out here. It's not so everything should be honky dory, but it's really not.
that's a prime example of how all these guys were just miserable people. This one guy came in and he was working with us, and his wife was pregnant, and he was telling us about how he was going to be a father, and a kid was on the way, all this. And I was just like, oh man, that's awesome. Congratulations. Are you excited? And he was just like, why the fuck would I be excited about that? You think I have the money for that shit? And he was like so mad that I congratulated him. And I was like, why are you telling us this then?
Dudes lashing out on other dudes is crazy. In other words, dudes taking their frustration out on another man instead of directly confronting the source, which is often has something to do with their girlfriend or wife. That's crazy work to me. That's really, I still have yet to understand that at my age. But I'd like to see what that dude's baby mama looks like.
I did. I don't know, man. Just being around these people was the most draining thing ever. So eventually I did get my van. I got it all stocked up. Like I said, it did break down on me all the time, but when it wasn't breaking down, I was basically just driving around doing service calls, and the amount of calls these people would give me was crazy. When I would go home when I was in school and I would work for the summer, I also worked for another landscaping irrigation company and I did service there, but they gave us like a respectable amount of calls, the normal amount, and they accounted for like if something goes wrong at one of them, it's not going to completely destroy my day and I'll be out there till 12 at night. You know what I mean? Not these guys. On my call sheet, it was 1 an hour and it was 8 to 8. And I was like, bro, this is insane. I would be out there all night, like, because it was my responsibility to finish every single call on that sheet. If I didn't, they were pissed. But if I came in late, because now the boss was going to be paying me like a crazy long day, he was also pissed. So I was like, bro, what do you want me to do here? I'm trying to like do everything and do it well, but he's getting annoyed that it's taking me too long. But I'm also like, dude, there's so much to do. I can't stress to you guys. Like I said, I worked at another company doing this. It was normal. This was never a problem. We constantly backed people up. I would go to other guys' calls if my day was done and vice versa. But at this company, you were out on your own. My very
Damned if you do, damned if you don't situations never pan out well. If you've ever heard of something like that, if you ever heard of someone being in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation and it panning out well, please type in the comments below. I'd love to read your story about that. But I'm saying those never pan out. I've experienced that myself, and inevitably I ended up leaving the company too. So
final day at this place before I quit, I was working service again. I was having an extremely long day, like another 8 to 8, and the calls start at 8. So I'm actually at the shop at like 6 a.m. But my very final call, I'm supposed to be showing up to their house at 8 p.m., which means like no matter what, I'm getting back to the shop, driving home. It's like 10. These were the longest, excruciating days I've ever worked, and I've done other laborious jobs, like I keep saying. My very first call, it absolutely starts downpouring, thunderstorms, just horrible conditions. Like backyards are flooding because it's raining so much, right? It's the springtime in Canada, so it's common. Do you know how hard it is to fix a leak when the ground around you is also flooding? So I can't figure out at all where the water is coming from. It's horrible. I stayed in the pouring rain for like over 12 hours that day. Anybody I was going to their house to do service was so annoyed because I was just this horrendously soaking wet, muddy, messy dude, and I had to walk through their house to go to the basement and like do all the shit to turn on, the water and the sprinkler system and program the controller, do all this stuff, right? And I was just gross and I was like apologizing, being like, I don't know why they're keeping us out here. Anyways, I did that. All the other guys like wrapped up early that day and called it, and nobody told me. So I was calling people for like assistance, being like, yo, if your day's done, can you please come help me out? I still have like 7 of these calls to get to. Nobody answered their phone. They left me high and dry. I got back to the shop. Everybody's van was parked, gone, shut down for the day. I mean, I literally had to unlock the gate to let myself in. Like they closed up as if everybody was done. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck all these people. I threw all my shit in the locker and was just like texted the boss being like, the keys for the van are in the locker. Peace.
there we go. That's the way to do it. Just leave. Don't give a formal 2 weeks notice. Sometimes you just gotta dip out. Sometimes you just gotta abruptly leave situations, and that goes in your personal life too. I'm glad homie, if you're listening, I'm glad you just left. Fuck it. And the problem remains, some of you guys are so nice. Y'all don't know how to walk away from bad situations. I understand you may not always have the money or resources, contacts to elevate your situation, but sometimes you really just got to say, fuck it. If people don't want to talk to you because you're in a bad spot, they're showing you who they are. Usually, best case scenario, if you have friends or any family like that, if you tell them about your situation, they'll be more than glad to lend you a helping hand. But again, going back to how nice some of y'all are way too passive. I see it. I've worked with people who are really passive aggressive, and that just never pans out well, even if you disagree with them, because there will come points in your profession where you'll have to disagree with them or you just don't understand their point or reasoning. And those people, from my experience, they get flustered, like they can't talk straight or whatever. So, guys, if I can give you any advice in life, just don't be passive aggressive. You don't always have to be honest all the time, but just don't be passive aggressive. Be confident in your actions.
I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. All the guys that were working this job and were the lifers were the most miserable people I'd ever met in my life. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't be one of these guys. I did about half a year here and I was dreading each day, always waking up, debating quitting, right? Anxious. It was very common to go like multiple days without speaking to anybody I worked with. I was nervous to talk to them. I didn't want to talk to them at all. They were always super mean. I was scared to ask any questions and I was just becoming super anxious and miserable. I was literally turning in to them and I was like, you know what? I'm done. This is not for me. It's not worth sacrificing my mental health, right? Anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.
Guys, I wanted to show this video to you. I wanted to react to it because I wanted him to lead to a bigger point I want to make in this video. So, great story by the Rad Russian. The Rad Russian, if you're listening to this, if you just happen to come upon this video, thank you very much. The link to your video, the original video without my commentary, is in the description below. And that point is the grass isn't always green and working with all men. The reason I bring this up is that I realized listening to you, Rad Russian, that many dudes will complain about working for women. I've met dudes who you would say they're misogynist, but they didn't really like working with women, so they think they're just going to go work with a bunch of guys. And I even heard red pill advice that you never work with women. But Rad Russian, you just showed us that working with all men isn't always green on the other side either. Like you said, they were alcoholics. Many of them were druggies. I met dudes who work with all men. They were druggies. And even in a commingled environment, in a co-ed environment with men and women, I've had great experiences with women, but dudes I just couldn't really get along with. They had big egos about trying to be the boss. They just complain about every thing that you do, every task that you perform. There is just always something wrong. Now, of course, women may not like you either, but I find that's less common than a dude. A dude would just really have to think you're him. You're just like him to like you at the workplace. So that's it for today, you guys. Thank you guys once again for taking the time to listen. Please like the video. Please share it. Please subscribe. More videos on the way. If you guys can suggest any topics I explore and give my devil's advocate opinion on it, please let me know. Until then, take it easy.